Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, can Mega Man read? We delve into these and other questions as we conclude our ABCs of Capcom. I'd like to exchange a white crystal for a blue one, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society exchanges a white crystal for a blue one with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I'm joined, as I'm always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. It's going great.
I don't know why, but I just felt weird in that moment referring to you as my co-host. As I don't, for whatever reason, I'm wrestling with taking ownership of that.
Oh, I see. Well, you know what? After almost 1,000 episodes, I think we just plow ahead.
I think we don't worry about it.
I think we don't. It's worked for us.
Yeah.
It's called, yeah. So I like, in fact, not only should we not worry about it, I think we should agree that it's good.
Okay, good.
And
okay.
we both like it.
We both like it. We're both comfortable with
And
it.
we don't want it to change.
And we will never speak of it again. If you would like to hear us discuss things that we will speak about over and over again, you can head over to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you're supporting us at the 8 or 16-bit levels, you get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries like NCS at the Movies.
Yes, where Patrick, myself, and usually a special guest are going to the movies together to watch a movie and then talking about it. And we're going to be talking about Disclosure Day next week.
Yeah, we sure are. I'm very excited for that. We thank you to our new patron, Ben George, and thank you to everyone who is contributing over there, who is listening in any capacity. We appreciate you. Also, you should get in our Discord. Mark, it seems like we are probably coming up on a Nintendo Direct here. Possibly next week.
Yeah, rumors abound that a Nintendo
yes.
Direct is happening next week.
And you will want to be in our Discord when that happens so you can discuss it with other people who are plugged into Nintendo. So what you got to do is email us, nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. I'll send you an invitation. You hop in there. You talk with us, not just during a Nintendo Direct, but the time leading up to a Nintendo Direct and the time after the Nintendo Direct, which as far as I can tell is all the time. I've covered all possible time periods.
Yeah.
Mark, speaking of possible Nintendo Direct next week, little programming note here. I have got friends in town over the weekend and in the beginning of next week. We have recorded already and scheduled to go out an episode celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the release of the Switch 2, kind of reflecting on the year as a whole. If we find out that there will be a Nintendo Direct, if we get like confirmation, right? We're going to pull that episode and we're going to pull our plans to do a predictions episode for Nintendo Direct. And we are just going to release one episode reacting to the Direct.
Yes, that's right. And so if we don't find out ahead of time or whatever, I don't know, it's going to be a scramble. But if
Yes.
there's a Direct, then don't be surprised. And it's Tuesday morning.
Yes.
Don't be surprised that there's no episode Tuesday. And but look forward to one as soon as we can get together and record on Wednesday.
Right. If there's an episode, if there's a Direct on Thursday morning,
Get out your flow charts.
get out the flowchart,
Yeah,
okay?
This will be helpful.
We
Start
just-
charting this
and
out.
you'll be able to see who you report to. Yeah, so just hang with us. We're going to figure it out.
Yes. It's all going to work out in the wash.
Right. And at some point, our 1-year episode will air.
That's right.
It just might be, a couple weeks after the 1-year anniversary.
Yes. But if there's an
And it may have outdated information about games that are coming out in the future. But that's okay.
But that's okay.
Because it's a backwards looking
You'll
episode.
know that it's a historical artifact.
That's right. And you can enjoy that.
Everyone check in with your Nintendo Direct buddies.
Right, yes. And just make sure that, look, we have to support each other through a Nintendo Direct. We don't know what to expect from one of these things.
No, and at this moment,
At this point,
as we're recording,
Yes.
we don't even know if one is actually happening. So there's just a lot of uncertainty.
There
we live in
is.
uncertain times, but
We
we'll
do.
all get through it together.
and I would say this is the primary example of how the times we live in are uncertain. All right, Mark, let's conclude our ABCs of Capcom. Last week, we did our A through M recounting all of these different things that we think of when we think of Capcom. So now we are entering the more difficult part of the alphabet.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anytime you're grappling with X, Y, and Z,
Yeah. I mean, luckily, Capcom has a fair number of Z's that I think
it's true.
are
It's true.
valid, valid to play. Not even a stretch, kind of at all.
Yep.
But some of these, it's going to be good. We're going to have a great conversation. But I do think this was one of the slightly more challenging chunks of the alphabet that we've done for an ABCs section for me personally. But I'm excited to dig into this.
Me too.
I believe I went first last time, Mark.
I think that's right.
Let's have you go first this time.
Okay, my N is for New Super Mario Brothers Wii Coin World, which is released in 2011.
Okay.
This is an arcade game that was licensed by Capcom and released in Japan. It's a metal game, which I wasn't familiar with, but is apparently a type of game in Japan. Japan has really strict gambling laws, and so like pachinko is a pseudo casino game, and these metal games are also like pseudo casino games. So how I understand them to work is that a player inserts their money, and that money is converted to metals, just like coins essentially.
Yeah.
And then you're playing casino-like games like slots. There's like a Wheel of Fortune wheel type thing, like really basic mini games that are essentially gambling games. But instead of winning money, you're winning these medals that can then either extend your play, or sometimes you can like redeem them
Cash
for tickets
back
and
out
then, like,
for
prizes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this was a new Super Mario Brothers Wii themed metal game arcade cabinet that was created by Capcom for release in Japan.
Did you say 2011?
2011.
Okay. So a lot of information there. A new Super Mario Brothers Wii had been out for a couple of years by that point, right?
I was trying to remember when it originally released, and I believe it was 2009. So
okay.
this was maybe like 2 years old.
Right.
By the time it released.
I think it's funny that Capcom was like, we should get a license for this machine that we're making. It should be Mario themed. And someone was like, well, it should be new Super Mario themed. Like, great. New Super Mario Brothers Wii themed. Like,
yes.
They got such a specific license there.
Yeah. Maybe it was because the game was like totally blowing up, because it's the only thing Nintendo would license them related to Mario. So it was just, and maybe because like new Super Mario Brothers Wii, it was a 4-player machine.
Okay, here we
go.
So
it kind of looks like an air hockey table almost, in that it is flat, And so the players like stand over it.
So it looks like a ping pong table.
Or just like a picnic table, a coffee table.
Yeah.
And so the players, and it can have up to 4 people playing at the same time. And the way that it works is that, like, basically you're doing these little mini games, and then as you play them, you're earning these coins or like medals, and that gives you opportunities to earn keys. And if you earn 5 keys, there's like a Bowser encounter that seems to be Princess Peach is like in a cage. Bowser is there, and your job, like, these are really just like pachinko. Like, they're kind of like mindless. They're like slot machines, right? So you're just hitting the buttons. And then there's a big Wheel of Fortune wheel in the center. I'm sure there's another name for it, but there's a big wheel on the center with like numbers on it. And there's one slot that's like the jackpot that is freeing Princess Peach. And so you're trying to like time it and all that kind of stuff. It was a failure. Capcom was during this time, Capcom was investing in these like metal games as a way to grow revenue. And for whatever reason, online it was saying like parts shortage and that sort of thing. This game was unsuccessful, and so did not stick around for very long.
Well, and I don't really have this exactly mapped out, but in my brain there is a little bit of a dark era for Capcom, right, where they are where like the original Resident Evil series has sort of run its course, and it's before it's like revived with Biohazard, Resident Evil 7, and where like Street Fighter is kind of sleepy. I guess Street Fighter 4 would have like just come around this time, which kind of like brings it back into
Yeah, I think by 2011.
2011 is maybe them like starting to come back.
No, I think it's
Or is
I
it
think it's the opposite. I
on the
think
downswing?
in my mind it's like because Capcom at the beginning of the PS3, Xbox 360, Wii era was really hot.
Right.
And then things started to fall off by the middle of that generation, right? Like the Dead Rising sequels weren't hitting. Remember they did like a sequel to Lost Planet, and that was a huge bomb.
Yeah.
And so then like Resident Evil 6 was really successful, but that wasn't until 2012. I think to my mind, Street Fighter 4 wasn't until I was living in LA. So like
I was living in Chicago when Street Fighter 4 came out.
Oh, okay. So maybe it was like 2011, 2010.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 2009 is probably when Street Fighter 4
Oh,
came
really?
out.
For some reason, I'm gonna look it up just because. You're probably right. You would know. 2008.
2008.
So it's even older
Okay,
than that. Yeah.
But I think all of these things take a little time for. I mean, even with Resident Evil 6 being as like financially successful as it is, it's sort of like culturally irrelevant, right? That like Capcom now holds a place within the gaming industry that is so much more like active and dynamic and exciting, and that sort of matches what I thought of them as during the like NES, Super NES era in like the 80s and like early 90s. So yeah, I think we are just like in a little bit of a strange space for them, and that they're making these like gambling machines. Why? It's also so far away from them collaborating with Nintendo, like on other stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Also, it seems like this would a weird machine, unless their goal was to like target younger audiences.
Right. Yes. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Although, the whole like marketing behind the Wii was like everyone can play the Wii,
Yeah,
right?
that's
so
true.
maybe they were hoping that like everyone can gamble with us. That's a good N, Mark. I didn't know about that. Thank you for sharing that with me. My N is for 9, specifically Mega Man 9, the throwback, 8-bit style. And I know it came out on the other like online platforms, but it felt like a WiiWare, like a Wii. It felt like a Wii game, right? And it felt so much at home there because you would just like tilt the Wii remote, and you're like, this is exactly like an NES controller, which is something that still kind of felt novel at the time. And it's just like a great 8-bit Mega Man game. And it's doing stuff that like obviously the NES couldn't handle. There's like more color, and it's like kind of cheating a little bit with like platforms that can rotate more dynamically than they could have in the original games. But it also like I don't think there had been much of a precedent for like an 8-bit throwback sequel at this point. I kind of feel like Mega Man 9 invented it, where it's like you can do a sequel that's just like going back to the old way. You just make a new old game. And, they add like a time attack mode, a bunch of challenges. DLC introduces Proto Man, who can do more of the moves. They don't let Mega Man slide or do a charge shot in Mega Man 9. Proto Man can do a charge shot, but he also takes more damage and gets knocked further back when he gets hit. And then the Robot Masters are all great. Concrete Man, Tornado Man, Splash Woman, Plug Man, Jewel Man, Hornet Man, Magna Man, Galaxy Man? Come on.
Yeah, Mega Man 9 was such a big deal. And I think you're exactly right. Like, when it released, the idea of indie games on consoles was really still very new. And so nowadays, like, 8-bit throwbacks are a dime a dozen, right?
Yes.
But at the time, it was not in vogue. So it felt really nostalgic, really fun. Yes, it definitely... I think it launched on WiiWare first.
That was kind of my memory, but then when I was looking it up, I couldn't find anything to corroborate that.
Yeah.
So maybe it did, but it's also possible that it came out on like the PlayStation Network at the same time too.
Right. Yeah.
And Xbox. But yeah, it was just kind of crazy. That was like here's a brand new Mega Man game.
Okay, so this is what I found is that so it released on in the US September 22nd, 2008 for WiiWare.
Mm-hmm.
And so just a 3-day exclusivity period, because on PlayStation Network it was September 25th.
Gotcha.
And then but it didn't come to Xbox until October 1st. Oh, so I guess it's not that long.
No,
so
that's just like another week.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's so like I remember it just being a like thing at that time that people are like, whoa, wait a minute, you can do this.
Yeah.
Right. And like having an old school Mega Man game like in on a modern console like feels like a weird magic trick that bounces you back to childhood.
Yeah.
And it was also like the first NES Mega Man games were available on the virtual console, but like I don't know, so much of I feel like now we live in an era where like the history is all kind of video games are all kind of like piled up on modern consoles, and you can play most of everything. Nintendo games, kind of excluded from like the last couple generations, but like just having this like portal to the past was way less common at that point.
Well, and even WiiWare was pretty new because WiiWare didn't launch with the Wii. It came in like 2008.
Yeah.
So I guess this would have been an early like WiiWare title.
Yeah, which good on Capcom for like seeing that there was an opportunity for something like that in this space and a weird 3-day exclusivity window.
Yeah.
You're not much of a Mega Man guy, but did you ever play 9?
Yes. No, that's why I remember it being such a big deal.
Yes.
Is that I was absolutely caught up in the hype of this idea. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like they made a new NES game.
Yes.
Yeah, it was totally a novelty at the time.
And then they did it again a couple years later with Mega Man 10.
And nobody cared.
Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Mega Man 10 is a good game. It's as good as Mega Man 9, I think. But it's like, they did the magic trick already, and then they do it again, and you're like, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's my N. My O, Mark, and I wonder if we share this O. It's a game that you and I played not too long ago for NCS Arcade. It is Okami.
Okami! Yes, we do share this
Yes,
O.
I figured that we would, just because it's a game that we both had an experience with. Not that long ago, after not playing it when it first came out. But Okami is a Zelda-like game where you play as Amaterasu, the god of the sun, who is a wolf. And it predates the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess by a couple months, and is such a weird sort of like Funhouse mirror reflection of what another studio who has made Zelda games, what it looks like when they make a Zelda game.
Yeah, originally released on the PS2.
Yes.
And then later got a Wii port, which again, not how I played it. I remember when it came out on Wii, we talked about it
last week.
A little bit last week with the IGN watermark. But it wasn't until NCS Arcade a couple of years ago that I played the HD version. And it is interesting to see two Zelda likes come out in such a short amount of time that are so focused on like wolves and wolf combat and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and I think the other thing that's interesting about Okami is that it feels like it is ripe for being a series, and it like only sort of is, right? The only other game is Okami Den, right? The
Nintendo DS,
the DS one,
like spin-off sequel type thing. And in 2024 at the Game Awards, they announced an untitled sequel that we haven't heard anything about since. But I think that one, wasn't it Kamiya is coming back for it?
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I am very, our experience with the original Okami was mostly frustrating for me. That game loves dragging its heels.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it is an honest to God, like, 75 minutes at the beginning of the game before you are actually playing it, just because it is presenting story to you for a really long time. And then like kind of never gets over that pacing. But the things that are cool about it, you're effectively like casting spells by like drawing things on the screen, and then exploring a 3D space is like a cool wolf fighting stuff. Like there's a lot to like in what Okami is. I love the way that you would like enter a battle like it was going to be a turn-based combat thing, and then instead you're just like running around a small arena fighting guys. I wonder if a modern game would not do that at all, if you just be like fighting, on the world map or what. But
yeah, it will be interesting to see what that sequel looks like. I finished Okami, and honestly, my my memory of how I felt was that overall I had a good time, but in the details it is really like fiddly and drags its heels, like all that
Yeah.
stuff you were saying.
But yeah, it's a game that I remain interested in the future of. Should there actually be one? What do you think? Is that's a game that'll come out at some point, right?
I think I expect so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Capcom's been good at putting out games.
And like a 2024 reveal
Yeah.
is not that long for us to not have heard anything. You know, it's only been like 18 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I do find that has totally fallen off the like the sort of presentation prediction racket that like
Totally.
no one is saying like, and maybe we'll see Okami at this one, you know.
Uh-huh.
It's just totally fallen out of the public consciousness, I guess. So that is my O. It is also your O. Mark, we are to you for a P.
Yeah, my P is ports. So outside of a handful of games, off the top of my head, Mega Man 11, Monster Hunter Rise, and Monster Hunter Stories 2, the Switch era was all about ports and collections from Capcom.
Yeah, okay.
And that's why, which was in some ways super fun. It was super fun for me. I replayed Resident Evil 4, like the HD version when that was released on Switch. I bought all of the Ace Attorney collections. I bought Ghost Trick again. You know, like,
Yeah.
So it was fun to get all of those games, but it's been more fun in the early days of the Switch
to get new games. Yes.
Day and day with everything else, and like, you know, ports of 7 and 8, which we only had in cloud versions on the Switch and stuff like that.
Again, it's so funny to compare that to the world that we were living in when Mega Man 9 came out, where it's like you would not expect all these old games to be ported to the current system that you're playing.
Yeah, totally.
Ports is a good P, Mark. P is one that I struggled with until I landed on the Famicom game Pro Yakyu Sajuchen Jaiken, literally translating to professional baseball murder.
Oh, okay. You lost me, but then you got me.
Right, so it's professional baseball, question mark, murder, exclamation point. This is a 1988 Famicom game. It is a murder mystery RPG / baseball sim where you play as a professional baseballer who has been accused of murder. And so you have to solve the crime. Well, you know, in like a sort of, you're like walking around in an overhead perspective, talking to people. And then there are baseball mini games that you have to do from time to time when you're playing games.
I love this.
Right? I would love to play professional baseball murder, but obviously it's full of language and dialogue.
Right.
So it was never localized. And as far as I can tell, it's never really been in a collection of any kind. It is also, Mark, a parody of murder mystery games, which were, you know, more popular in Japan than they basically ever have been here. But so, yes, it is a baseball minigame collection / murder mystery / parody of both of these things.
Okay, that is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
I had never heard of it before either. I watched a little bit of gameplay, and it's just, you know, mostly reading Japanese.
Right, yeah.
But the character designs are so funny. Everyone has these like big exaggerated features. It's wild. I love discovering things when we do this show. It doesn't happen all that often.
This? Yeah, I wonder if it's any good. Like, I wonder if it's a good game.
Yeah, great question. I mean, I guess if it was a very good game, they would have like found a way to like port it or something, right?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can now. I have a new like thing to live in hope for, which is just like Famicom Detective Club.
Right.
Eventually got ported. That someday professional baseball murder will be localized.
Yeah, Pro Yakyu Satsujin Jaiken. That's the name. I just had to calm down so I could try pronouncing it. So that's my P. That moves us on to Q.
Mm-hmm.
My Q is for Queen Leech, the primary antagonist from Resident Evil 0.
Right.
So the Queen Leech is a T-virus infected leech that is also like controlling the other T-virus infected leeches. But this one, like took over the body of Dr. James Marcus, who's like the co-founder of Umbrella, after he died. So this leech gets in this guy's body, retains all of his memories, and acts as this man to like spread T-virus around via leeches. And then of course by the end of the game, Rebecca and Billy have to like fight the leech as it like jumps out of this body and becomes a giant slimy monster. But I had basically forgotten the detail that the Queen Leech is like inside a man that died 10 years previous and is, riding him around like a puppet.
So, Resident Evil 0 is a weird game. It's a hard one to root for.
Yeah, and yet.
I know.
And yet I do.
I think because it's so weird, I have like kind of like my backup for it a little bit.
Yes.
Where like I want to defend Resident Evil 0.
Right.
But if people push back, I'm like, I mean, you're right. You're right.
But also Queen Leech. And the reason that this is so Nintendo related is, of course, that Resident Evil 0 comes out on GameCube before it comes out anywhere else.
And I like stayed a GameCube exclusive until
for
the
a
HD
long
version,
time.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, which is so wild. It really, I guess, tells you how like the black sheep of the family Resident Evil 0 is, that they didn't even bother to port it off of the GameCube.
Yeah, no, it's true, because they were obviously very aggressive about porting Resident Evil 4 off of GameCube, and even like Code Veronica, which was originally a Dreamcast exclusive, it finds its way onto PlayStation pretty early. PlayStation 2 pretty early as well. But yeah, the Queen Leech. You're not going to have the Queen Leech up there in the Hall of Famous Capcom antagonists.
Yeah, it's too bad, say.
It's too bad, yes.
That's great. My cue is for Quarter Circle, which I'm calling
this is a great
the
cue,
controller
Mark.
input
Yes.
for the Hadouken
to perform a fireball, yes.
in Street Fighter.
And the ability to perform a quarter circle punch or quarter circle kick is something that will separate the like fighting game fans from like normals just like messing around with the game. It's like, how are you with quarter circles?
Oh, I'm terrible.
Okay.
I'm terrible at all things like Street Fighter, fighting games, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, very, very bad.
I remember it was something that I had to like wrap my head around as a child in the arcade, performing quarter circle motions so I could throw fireballs and actually like hang in a game.
I do feel like possibly easier today with analog sticks versus a D-pad where it's like down, then down forward, like kind of like quarter and then forward.
Yeah, I mean you just have to roll your thumb. Yeah. And that's all easier than using a joystick. Like doing the quarter circles or half circles on a joystick, it just requires so much more like actual motion. You're moving your hand instead of just like a thumb. It's kind of crazy how different the experience of playing Street Fighter or any fighting game with an actual fight stick and like the like 3 buttons on top, 3 buttons on bottom versus having a controller in your hand. They're just very, very different. But yeah, the quarter circle, something that must be mastered. And then kind of beyond that, the sort of Z shape of doing the forward down, and then that was 3 button inputs. Well, forward is one, down is another. Forward and down together is how you do a dragon punch. And that is a genuinely like tricky thing to pull off.
On to my R?
Yes.
My R is for Ricky, one of the 3 animal companions in the Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons games.
Is he the bear?
No, Ricky is the boxing kangaroo.
Gotcha.
Moosh is the blue
Moosh
bear.
is the bear,
And then there's also Dimitri, who's like a friendly Dodongo.
How weird that 2 of them are like basically just animals. And they've got like kind of cute names. And then Dimitri is a Dodongo?
Yeah, I know. Kind of, yes. Strange that it's a Dodongo. But yeah, so Ricky is a boxing kangaroo. Ricky can punch enemies as well as deliver like a charged punch. It's more like a whirlwind. And then you can use Ricky in some map traversal because Ricky has the ability to jump over small holes that appear in the map, and then also can get up steep cliffs.
Yeah. Remind me how these animal buddies work. Did you just like commit to one?
Yes, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so
And they're in both games.
they're in both games, but the way that you like earn them in both games is different. And so there's kind of one in each game that is the default. I think Ricky is kind of like the default in one of them, maybe Ages, and then I think Moosh is the default in the other one.
Seasons.
In Seasons. And so if you um but so you have to perform like additional tasks, or you have to kind of like know ahead of time in order to get like in Ages, in order to get Moosh or Dimitri. That's how
gotcha.
I remember
Yeah.
it to be anyways. Although so the reason I think it's the default, or the reason I think Moosh is the default in Seasons, is because when we played Seasons for friend of the show Connor McCabe's podcast, Call Me By Your Game, Moosh is who I got, and it's got to be because it was the default and not
Yes.
because I did anything special. So
I think technically that was a games club, because it was a Zelda games club. It was before they were doing the book club style. But
yeah,
yes,
you're right.
So
You're
the
right.
Super NPC Games Club, if you're looking for our conversation about Oracle of, which one did we play?
We played Seasons,
Yes.
I think. I'm pretty sure it was Seasons because I'm pretty sure I got Moosh.
And I will believe that it's Seasons, because whichever one we were supposed to play, I started playing the other one. That's good. Ricky is a good R. My R is for randomizer, because Resident Evil 2 on the Nintendo 64 had the first ever official console game, or was the first ever officially released console game to include a randomizer for item and enemy placement.
Oh, cool.
Something that has become sort of standard for the Resident Evil speedrunning community, and speedrunning communities outside of the Resident Evil group, is randomizer. So it puts keys and ammo and healing items in random spots across the map, and also picks different enemies for you to fight. I was trying to determine if this was like the first randomizer like period, and I think there were some like hacked together versions of it that fans had made, but this is the first time, and as far as I can tell, really only time that Resident Evil has like done one of these officially, and it's just bizarre that it's in the N64 version of Resident Evil 2. Which itself is a miracle for just like compressing the hell out of that audio to fit it on that cart, and just making a 2-disc PlayStation game fit all on one big fat cart. All right, which leads then to my S. My S, and I feel like we've avoided for the most part just talking about Street Fighter. You did Quarter Circle earlier, but I got to go with Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers on the Super NES. Just an incredible. So this is the version of the game that now all the 4 bosses are playable characters, and also the new challengers have been introduced: Cammy, Fei Long, T-Hawk, and DJ. And it's just sort of in my mind the like ideal of what Street Fighter 2 was for so long.
The Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Everybody's there.
It was everybody. It was everyone is here. Everyone was 16 characters, but whatever. Yeah, I don't. I remember the cartridge, the Super NES cart having like 32 megabits written on the front of it. Such a funny era where they were like, here's how much memory we had to put in this thing. But it just felt like a complete tool set of all these great characters. Their movesets had been like filled out by the various iterations in the arcade. And it just felt like you were playing an honest to goodness like version of this game that rocked.
Yeah, so Street Fighter 2 was a really big deal for you. Is that correct to say?
Yes. Yeah.
In the arcade, at the at-home versions.
Mhm.
How many like Super Nintendo versions did you own?
So I think I had just like vanilla Street Fighter 2. And then I think I rented the Street Fighter 2, was it Turbo or Championship Edition? Whichever one was the Super NES one, that I'd rented that a lot. And then when Super came out, that I was like this. So yeah, I probably owned 2 and rented 1. and like every time it was like a new and exciting development in the toolkit, and was excited to play with friends on my own. Yeah, like Street Fighter was the first game that I like viewed as a social thing, that like my friends and I could just play that all night long.
That's awesome. Well, my S is similarly tipping the hat to Street Fighter, but I want to just shout out the Street Fighters in Street Fighter, because these are some of the most recognizable characters in gaming.
This is very
Full
true.
stop.
Yes.
Are from this series, and we haven't talked about them very much in this A to Z. So just giving a shout out to Ryu, to Chun-Li, to Ken, to M. Bison, to Guile,
Honda,
E Honda, to
Mhm.
Blanca, to Zangief,
to Balrog,
to Balrog,
to Vega,
to Cammy.
to T-Hawk, Fei Long.
Yeah, I know there's some.
Who
that
have we
were-
missed?
I know there's some
Dalsim.
that were, and we ranked these characters at some point,
Probably.
right? I think we did.
Sagat.
But yeah, but I mean, like Chun-Li, timeless,
Yes.
classic.
It's true.
Yeah.
And like, you know, the design of the characters in the Street Fighter games, and in like all fighting games, right? Or not all fighting games, but good ones, you know, live or die by how good those designs are. And there's just something like foundational. There's something just they are fighting game characters.
Yeah.
They fill all the archetypes.
All right, on to my T.
Mm-hmm.
My T is for 3, as in 3 Zelda games developed by Capcom. So of course you had.
What are we gonna do for Z?
Well, of course. I have a Z.
Okay, all right.
Uh,
But yes, 3 Zelda games.
yeah, that's right. So there were the Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages and Seasons, like we talked about, that released simultaneously
On the Game Boy Color.
on the Game Boy Color in 2001, and then in 2004 they released the Legend of Zelda Minish Cap,
Yes.
and that was like the end of that collaboration. But this exercise got me thinking that I don't really know the origin of why this happened. Why was Capcom responsible for 3 portable Zelda games? It's like Nintendo had developed one on Game Boy in Link's Awakening. Like, how did this come to be? So I did a little research,
Okay.
and best as I can tell, the story is essentially this: that Yoshiki Okamoto, the Capcom producer behind Street Fighter II and Final Fight, reached out to Shigeru Miyamoto in early 1999 with a pitch to let a Capcom kind of like subsidiary named Flagship remake the original Legend of Zelda for Game Boy Color.
Okay.
So that was the initial pitch. Okamoto goes to Miyamoto and says, I want to remake the original Legend of Zelda for Game Boy Color because I want kids today to experience the original Legend of Zelda.
Interesting.
So Flagship, again, from what I can tell, was an independent Japanese video game company. So not like owned necessarily by Capcom, because it was funded by Capcom, Nintendo, and Sega together. And initially they were used in support, mostly writing like the scripts and stories for other studios, including material that was used in like Resident Evil and stuff like that. So Miyamoto apparently liked the idea that he asked Okamoto to develop 6 Zelda games for the Game Boy Color.
6?
2 based on earlier installments.
Okay.
And then 4 original entries. But obviously that got scaled way back. And so eventually it evolved into 3 interconnected games. So there was going to be Ages, Seasons, and a third one.
Right.
But even that was recognized to be too ambitious. And that's how it got narrowed down to Ages
Man,
and Seasons.
people don't make 3 games at one time anymore. They should.
Well, apparently the development of Ages and Seasons was pretty rocky.
Yeah.
Because, like, Flagship...
I would say it shows.
like, yes, I agree. So apparently Flagship, you know, because they were formed to write scripts and scenarios, they started with that aspect of the games for Ages and Seasons. They started with the story, which
Which again, I think does show that
Totally.
like they're both complicated stories in like high concept worlds.
But it's the total opposite of how Miyamoto likes to work,
Right.
which is let's start with like the gameplay, what makes the game fun, and then that story stuff,
Right.
like we will figure out, like we'll layer it on top.
Right. Let's talk about a meadow and a slingshot.
Yeah, that's not the
Yeah,
core. That's
yeah.
not what we're worried about at the beginning. And so apparently Okamoto admitted he left the team alone for the first year, and in his words, quote, they did nothing. Oh, sorry, they did nothing but quote lose lots of money. So he went to Miyamoto and asked for help. But anyways, the games came out. They shipped. I think they were pretty well received. And then eventually they released Minish Cap, which I didn't realize was only 3 years after the Oracle games because they feel so. Probably because they were on the Game Boy Color.
Right.
They feel so archaic. Whereas like Minish Cap feels not that it's a perfect game, but more fully formed. Like it feels more modern.
Yeah, well, those 3 Zelda games are so interesting to me in that, like, I kind of regard them as like the worst Zelda games. But even in that, they're pretty good video games,
Yeah, totally.
And it's just amazing that anyone outside of Nintendo is able to pull that off. Let alone a studio that isn't even really Capcom.
Yes, yeah. Flagship closed in 2007, and I think that's where Fujibayashi, who we talked about last week,
came out of. Yeah,
I think he was in the mix at Flagship or something. But anyways, R.I.P. Flagship.
R.I.P. Flagship, and I guess thank you for some
okay Zelda games.
All right, Zelda games.
Thank you for Ricky, if nothing else. Thank you for Moosh.
Thank you for Moosh.
Thank you for Dimitri.
And we're appreciative of Dimitri as well. Yes. I'm in a little bit of a fighting game like run through my. Or wait, did you?
I did my T.
You just did your T for 3 Zeldas.
Yes, that's right.
Triforce of Zelda games.
Uh-huh.
My T, I'm staying in with fighting games, like I said. Tatsunoko versus Capcom Ultimate All-Stars, as it released on the Wii. Mark, are you familiar with Tatsunoko versus Capcom at all?
Yes, I remember when it released on Wii, and one of the things that I remember reading about it on like IGN, probably like Matt Casamina or whatever was writing the article.
Casamasina, but yeah.
Casamasina, yeah. That Speed Racer is in the Japanese version, but not in the US version because of like licensing, and Warner Brothers had the rights to Speed Racer for that movie.
Yes. So the version that came to the US and that was released on Wii in North America in general, it does have this subtitle of Ultimate All-Stars, whereas the version of it that had come out in arcades in Japan and then also on Wii was called Tatsunoko vs. Capcom Cross Generation of Heroes. So in either case, it is a set of Capcom fighting game characters and not fighting game characters. I believe Frank West is in this game, the hero of Dead Rising.
Nice.
And a handful of like Mega Man characters, but characters from Tatsunoko, which is a like Japanese anime and manga company. So it's very much like a Marvel versus Capcom, but using a Marvel that I barely recognize, like using a Japanese substitute for Marvel that I barely recognize. It, uses that same sort of combat where they can do like the hyper jumps and like, fly all the way up to the top of the screen. There's tag team combat where you can like summon your opponent to like perform a special move and like, or not your opponent, but your partner. And you can tag in and out. There are also characters that are so big that they're the only one you can play as. Like you don't get a partner when you play as some of these giant characters. And it was just so like mysterious and Japanese, and I don't know what drove me to buy it, but I owned this game and I played the heck out of it. Really, really loved it. Just Tatsunoko versus Capcom. I'm looking at Frank West. I was correct. Is in this. What did I say? Another character that I had to like question myself about? Was that it? Batsu from Rival Schools is in here. Crazy. Alex from Street Fighter 3. Chun-Li.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of Mega Man characters. Mega Man Volnut. Roll, which is from Mega Man. Just a bunch of fun, crazy characters in there.
Yeah, that's so cool. No, I've never played it. I just remember reading about it when it came out.
And it was like a heavy lift to get it over, is my understanding. I remember it having an absolutely enormous instruction manual inside it.
Hi.
And part of that is because I think this is the first time Capcom did this, but I might be wrong, that they because it was on the Wii, and the Wii has so many different like controller inputs where you could be playing with just a Wii remote and nunchuck, with the classic controller, whatever, pro controller. What did they call it?
Pro controller.
Pro
I think.
controller. That they had like abbreviated or like the sort of like easy mode version of it where you could just like push a button and perform a special move, which they've brought back a couple times. That's how there's a like modern control scheme for Street Fighter 6. And this was embracing that kind of thing at that time. Or you could do your quarter circles to throw fireballs, but they like tried to make this game accessible, which is nuts because like it conceptually so unaccessible. But
is this one that has not did not remain in your collection?
Yeah, I do not currently
Through the
own a
sands
copy
of time.
Tatsunoko versus Capcom, and I couldn't tell you when I lost it because it probably came out to LA with me. Why wouldn't it have? I didn't have a Wii U yet because the Wii U didn't exist by the time I moved out here.
It's the mysteries of moving.
Is it in my collection somewhere, Mark?
I don't know.
We're gonna have to look around. Okay, so that was my T. Moving on to my U. Staying in with fighting games and specifically staying in with Street Fighter and specifically Street Fighter 2. That's right, I have two different Street Fighter 2 games on my ABCs here. Ultra Street Fighter 2, The Final Challengers, which was a Switch, not launch day. It was like 2 months later that it came out. Do you remember this version of Street Fighter 2?
The thing I remember about it is that it has dark... or
close, yes. So it has the original 16 characters that we said most of the names of, plus Akuma, who had been added in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and then two evil versions of Ken and Ryu.
Yes, that's what it is.
And
plus like some like
well, yeah, we'll get to that in a second because I
yeah.
just want to say the names of the evil characters.
Okay, yes,
because it's evil Ryu, fine. And Violent Ken.
Oh, that's good.
Violent Ken. His face is kind of purple. But yes, there is a first-person like mode where you perform Hadoukens like with the Joy-Con.
And isn't it in like first person? In like
yes.
And it's in like the Street Fighter 4 engine or something or art style.
Yes, it is. I think it is both the engine and the art style. It is a wholly like hacked together. Capcom wanted to put out something for the launch of the Switch. And it's a pretty good version of the game. It has all like redrawn art for the characters.
I didn't realize that.
You can switch back to the like classic pixely art style, but it's just like hand drawn HD like beautiful looking characters, and like everything has been kind of tweaked, move sets and all that. So it's a pretty good version of the game. I would say it's too like new to have like Super Street Fighter 2 has been around for so long that like that's sort of the lingua franca of Street Fighter 2, whereas Ultra is more of a novelty.
Yeah,
if you bust it out at like a fighting game tournament or something, people will look at you weird, but it'll still be kind of fun to play around with those versions of the characters.
Yeah, that's a great pick. My use for the Umbrella Corporation.
Yeah,
of course, like the evil like pharmaceutical conglomerate from the Resident Evil series. The reason I want to specifically call it out here is that I feel like between Resident Evil Remake, the remake of the first game, and Resident Evil 0, that those are kind of like the deepest explorations of Umbrella's history. Like we learn a lot in those games about like
the company,
and,
Dr.
like,
James Marcus, as possessed by the Queen Leech.
And like Lisa and like all the stuff that's happening in the remake. Like so you have like all of that in Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil Remake, which is like exclusive to the GameCube for a while. And then by the time Resident Evil 4 rolls around, which was also a GameCube exclusive, the Umbrella Corporation had collapsed. Like it was Dunzo at that point. So it kind of is like covers the entire rise and fall of Umbrella on a single console.
Can we just talk about how fun it is that like they named their evil company Umbrella Corporation?
Uh-huh.
Like it's one of those things where it's like this is too clever by half, but I like it, you know?
It's also one of those logos that you see kind of like sneak out into real
Yes,
life.
absolutely.
Where I feel like sometimes knowingly, but other times just like unwittingly, like a kebab shop will Google search
Yep.
like umbrella.
Umbrella logo and just use
Uh-huh.
it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Well, and like it's a pretty good logo. Like it's eye catching. You know exactly what it is, and yeah, yeah. The Umbrella is such a good like overall boogeyman for that series.
I also like how in the the Resident Evil lore is so absurd
Yeah,
and stressed
cuckoo
and
bananas. Yeah.
yes, like it's totally crazy, but they were such a good villain for a
Yeah.
good long run.
Yes, I agree.
And then even now it's like everything it still revolves around Umbrella, but they don't exist anymore, and it's just gotten really messy because of that.
Yes.
But yeah, really like Umbrella.
That's a great U, Mark. Onto your V.
My V is for Viren or Varan, who is the sorceress of shadows and the main antagonist of The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages.
Okay.
So I think one of very, very few female antagonists in the Zelda series, and kind of like video games in general, a big bad for a series.
Yeah, especially for a game where the hero isn't female.
Yep.
Right.
Her big thing is that she has the ability to possess others.
Uh-huh.
And so she, like, at the beginning of the game is possessing Impa, and then like tricks Link basically into unlocking something, a portal or something or another, to different ages. And her goal basically is to fill Labrina, like which is the name of the land that the game takes place in, with sorrow. Of course, you find out that she's actually
Sorrow being like a physical
No,
thing, or it's
lowercase.
just okay, just
Yeah.
like just sadness.
Uh-huh.
Okay, gotcha.
Just sadness, yeah. And of course, even though she appears to be the ultimate evil, she's actually a loyal servant to Twin Rova, and so by extension is dedicated to bringing about the Ganon's revival. But
And of course, you can get that Twin Rova fight if you play both games all the way through and enter a code that into one of them, and then you can actually fight them, right?
I think so.
Something.
She's also like a vavoom, like voluptuous,
Yes.
like female wearing kind of like a form-fitting dress.
Yeah, she's got like a Jessica Rabbit thing going on.
Yeah,
for sure.
totally. Yeah,
But like evil Jessica Rabbit.
Uh-huh. Yep, exactly.
Say the name of the character again.
It's Veran. So Anne. Veran. So it's either Varan or Varen. Take your pick.
So it's like Varong, the evil Navi from Avatar 3.
I haven't seen Avatar.
I mean,
3.
me neither, but I've heard a lot about this Varong.
But yeah, James Cameron totally ripped us off.
Totally ripped off.
Yeah.
Oracle of Ages. Yes, I believe that. Good V, Mark. My V is for variety of games. Capcom does have a pretty solid stable of games that or series that they like keep making games. They keep making entries in those series, but they're so different from each other. When we did, the ABCs of Square Enix, it's like, okay, we're going to be talking about a lot of RPGs as we go throughout this. Every now and then we're like going off that path and, they make a game that's not an RPG, or like you can kind of squint and it's still kind of an RPG. But like Monster Hunter is nothing like Resident Evil, is nothing like Street Fighter, is nothing like Mega Man. They make a lot of fighting games, they make a lot of brawlers, but they do everything. And I just think it's, and outside of like the Breath of Fire series, don't do a lot of RPGs, but like, there's just a lot of different kinds of games that they make.
Yeah, you're right. And I feel like they're good about experimenting. Like Pragmata is like an example of that, right? Sure, it's an action game, but they're really trying something new and are able to position it in a way that made it seemingly very successful when it launched. I was thinking about the RPG thing, and maybe this is maybe an obvious observation, but I didn't really consider it before. But maybe it's their arcade roots is what
Yeah.
makes RPGs such like they don't feel like an easy fit for Capcom because it's
Yeah.
just not like in the DNA of the company.
Which is interesting then to consider that Resident Evil comes out of this company, right? Because Resident Evil is like maybe the closest thing they have to a regular RPG series, in that you're like on an adventure. It's slower, it's more atmospheric, you're building character in one form or another. And those games get actiony too. Like, I don't mean to oversell their RPG-ness, but like comparing those to Monster Hunter or Mega Man and Street Fighter, like they feel like the odd man out. But
I hope if this is stepping on any of your toes, let me know. But because these have never appeared on a Nintendo console, and they've kind of just been like shoved into a drawer. But it's so weird to me that they don't do anything with the Dino Crisis games.
yeah,
That there's no like Dino Crisis collection for Switch, or, for like modern consoles or anything.
it kind of blows my mind that there's no Dino Crisis remake.
Right, or even HD versions of these games.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I guess Square Enix was put some lipstick on Chrono Cross. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. But I mean, like, outside of the first Dino Crisis, like, I don't think the other two are particularly well regarded, right?
right, the third one especially.
Third one especially, but like, and they just get actionier like as they go along. But the first one has like a really interesting like split narrative path. Like, you just play as the one character, but like depending on the things you do, the story plays out in totally different ways. And yeah, it seems like why not? Why not remake
Yeah,
that?
you're collecting everything else. Like, why not? Why not at least make them available on consoles?
Yeah, exactly. And while you're at it, bring back Pro Yaku, Satsuja,
Yeah,
and Jaiken.
that's right. I don't ask for much. Just those two things.
We just want these two things. But yeah, what a great variety of games Capcom makes. My W, we've been talking about or around this guy as we talk about Resident Evil and the Umbrella Corporation. Wesker. Albert Wesker, who is the most obvious twist bad guy in the original Resident Evil. Like, everyone else is, like a sort of, they're like a police special forces. And then here comes Wesker wearing sunglasses at night, has like bright blonde hair, and is just a jerk.
I had forgotten because he's like so notoriously a bad guy. I had forgotten that in the first game,
Yes, they present him as your ally.
they present him as your ally, and there's kind of like a mystery about like who is the traitor, which one of us,
Yes.
has like turned against the others.
Well, and in the when you're playing as Chris, he's not your constant companion, but he's there a lot. Like, you spend a lot of time with Wesker in the Chris version of the game. In the Jill version, you spend more time with Barry.
Yeah.
But, who is so obviously a good guy, that it's just it's funny. And then they keep him, he dies in that game, right? He gets like killed by the tyrant. But they just keep bringing him back.
Yeah.
You can't keep Wesker down. He gets like superpowers. His eyes glow red. Is he working for Umbrella? Is he working on his own thing? Is he also actually a scientist? Like, I love when you go to, there's like a slideshow that you're looking at in the Resident Evil remake. And you see like, generic scientist, obviously Albert Wesker in a lab coat, generic scientist. And he's wearing the sunglasses. He's just... he's almost a Street Fighter character in how like recognizable he is. Just great iconography on that guy.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he's so beloved that I think it definitely, there was a time where it was trending, where it's like almost like too much.
Yeah.
Like it was almost tiring how cool they were making him and everything. But I think that they eventually have, just like with the rest of Resident Evil,
Yeah, they've calmed
like
down a little
centered
bit.
it. Yeah,
Yes.
they figured out a way to make it all kind of like work. That's a great W.
Thank you.
My W is for Willow, which is an NES game from 1989 that I honestly hadn't heard about until Jeremy Parrish published an NES Works video about it on YouTube just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
So he calls it quote, the Zelda sequel that a lot of NES fans wanted over Zelda 2, like a top-down action game with role-playing elements and a little touch of storytelling. In fact, it's so Zelda-like that you'll eventually see a lot of elements that appear here as components of A Link to the Past. And he specifically calls out as a couple of examples, like combat is very similar, and in the game you have like a well of magic that diminishes as you use secondary items and stuff like that. But yeah, didn't know that this existed, but it makes sense with during that era, like we talked about last week, Capcom was making a lot of licensed games. Yeah, so it's cool this exists.
Yeah. Remind me, your relationship to the film Willow?
I saw it for the first time as an adult, like when it showed up on Disney Plus, probably so that was probably 2020. That was probably during the pandemic. And I remember being at my cousin's house when I was really young, and they had it on like VHS. So I remember seeing maybe the parts with the brownies, which are like the little
fairy guys.
Yeah. But as an adult, I think it's pretty bad. I don't care for Willow.
Yeah. I don't have any kind of relationship with Willow. I do think it is fascinating that they made a Willow TV series and then took it off Disney Plus. It frankly doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
I wonder if they ever bring it back. Or if they're just burying it.
I know. Yeah. What a strange time that multiple companies were like, we made this content and it, I guess, is performing so poorly that we're better off removing it than just letting it sit here.
Yeah, I wonder if there was like something in like the contracts to like get Warwick Davis back or something that like the royalties on it are you know, that like they couldn't trick young actors into signing a contract that gave them no royalties, so they're just like having it run ever is only going to cost us money or something.
Yeah.
What a weird business. All right, that's your W. Now your X. Yes, or wait.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And my X is for cross-examination in this Ace Attorney series.
Objection!
Yes, trials are a big part of the gameplay. There's usually like investigation chunks, and then there's the trial chunks, and trials are where the truth come out. And so cross-examination in the gameplay of the games during a trial, there will be a witness on the stand. They'll give testimony. And then the cross-examination is you are going through that witness's testimony basically line by line and finding the inconsistencies. And so you're referring to the evidence you've collected to find inconsistencies in what they've been saying. And so in the first 3 games, you can press, or that's asking for more details to like drill down into something they're talking about. Or you can present, which is where you take evidence from your collection and say, you said this happened at 10 a.m., but here I have a police report saying it took place at 9:30. Later games introduced other mechanics like there's like a mood matrix that can read emotions, and the character Apollo Justice has this like bracelet that can sense when a witness is tense. And so
he's like Daredevil.
Exactly. But yes, cross-examination in trials is a huge part of the gameplay mechanics in the Ace Attorney series.
That's pretty good. And like a surprisingly like active version of, or like bit of that gameplay too.
Yeah, totally.
My X, so I'll be honest that at first I was like, oh, my X is easy. It's going to be Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Street Fighter Cross Tekken never came out on a Nintendo platform. In fact, it only came out on PlayStation 4 and then and maybe the Xbox at that time, Xbox One. And then has not been they've never remastered that game or whatever. I like Street Fighter Cross Tekken, but I've decided that it is not eligible because it never came to a Nintendo platform, which is fine because we have a whole series of Mega Man X games, which is in a lot of ways kind of just more Mega Man, like next generation Mega Man, Super NES Mega Man, and then onto the PlayStation eventually. But like, it was a shock that they could do this, right? that instead of, because Mega Man 7 also came out on Super NES, right? So like they were continuing that original series of Mega Man games, and then also here is how we do it if it had started on Super NES, which is just like a sort of like cleaner presentation of it, with kind of radder music that's using more like guitar sounds, and also taking those robot masters and making them animals. Gotta make them animals. And also maybe more dynamic stages too. I feel like they would change depending on what order you fought them in. But by and large, the Mega Man X series is just more Mega Man. Takes place in the future. Zero is there, so like we got a cool new buddy who eventually becomes one of the main characters of the series going forward. But yeah, X for Mega Man X.
I have not played very much Mega Man X, but I can't remember what the occasion was. Maybe it was when it came out on Virtual Console on like the Wii or something. But I remember playing the opening moments of the original Mega Man X on Super Nintendo, and it's rad. It really is kind of like a statement of purpose, where it's like, yes, this is similar to Mega Man, but it looks better. Like it looks gorgeous. X is awesome. He can wall climb now, right?
Sure
that was
can,
new.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
The music, like you said, is really amazing. Uh-huh.
There's something like inherently a little bit dweeby about the original Mega Man games, and for the X series they just like trade in like badassery for that, and it totally works and is super fun. And my favorite is the original Mega Man X. I know there are a bunch of games after, but like that first one is perfection to me. But I'd like to know if people have other like favorite Mega Man X games. I would like to hear about it. I feel like that is not as frequently discussed as like, well, the good original Mega Man games are like 2 and 3, and then the rest of them are all like pretty good. But I'd be interested to know. Moving on to Y. I wonder if you and I have the same one for Y, because Y is a tough letter.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
It's possible that we both picked Yo-Noid.
Oh, that's not what I have.
I'm just going with Yo-Noid.
Okay, that's great.
So Capcom, this is basically the North American version of a game that in Japan is called Kame no Ninja Hamaru. But during the localization process, and if this is well documented somewhere, I was not able to find it. Capcom and Domino's get together, and Domino's is like, here's some money, make this game about the Noid.
I think we need to explain what the Noid is.
Of course. So you had to avoid the Noid. The Noid was a sort of like anti-mascot for Domino's Pizza, who would in the commercials destroy a delivery pizza on its way from the pizzeria to the intended address. And Domino's whole thing was, we avoid the Noid, and so your pizza gets to you without having been ruined by this weird looking rabbit old man creature.
And I still can't make out if like Noid was a play on something.
Annoyed. Yeah. That he like yes,
that makes sense.
And it rhymes. You avoid the Noid. I always think of there is a 30 Rock joke where Jack is breaking down the word paranoid, from the Greek para and noid, and it says what para means, and he goes and noid, which is some sort of pizza demon. Really weird game. It's a side-scrolling, like sort of platformer where the Noid uses a yo-yo to fight his enemies. This is a NES game, and there are skateboarding sections and mini games and a pizza eating contest. There's also a green evil version of the Noid that you are fighting against. You are the Noid though, like you're
right. So I obviously, from the Noid's perspective,
yes,
the green one is bad. But I wonder if from the consumer's perspective, yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like if McDonald's put out a Hamburglar game. It's like, why am I playing as a fast food villain? It doesn't make any sense. And it's just sort of hard to believe that it was real.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I would love to know how did this happen?
Yes.
Why was this game localized and with the Noid?
Yeah, the citation. Well, there is no citation for it on Wikipedia. Just it says Capcom teamed up with Domino's Pizza to change the graphics, sound, and presentation.
You don't need a citation because it must have happened.
I mean, true, right? Just like empirically, there's no other way this could have happened.
Right.
But like, who is it's someone at Capcom? You know, their offices next to each other at Capcom. One going, man, I think we should remake the original Legend of Zelda for Game Boy Color so that future generations will be able to play one of the classic games. And the other going, man, I wish we had a pizza license that we could staple on top of this game that we're already bringing over. Where does this come from?
That's so good. No, that's I'm learning a lot here. I'm learning a lot.
So your why is not Yonoid.
My why is not Yonoid.
Sorry, I also just need to call out. This is one of the great video game titles. Yo, and Yo has an exclamation point after it, and then Noid, which has no punctuation following it.
Right.
Yo, Noid. I don't understand it.
Right.
Why is this game called that?
Because it's not that you're saying yo at Noid, because that would be yo, comma Noid
exclamation point.
Yeah.
But also just why is it Yo? Why are you hailing the Noid? You are the Noid. And Yo Noid that's not like a play on words.
No.
It's bewildering. I don't get it at all. Mark, your why.
My why is for Yellow Devil, the Mega Man
yes.
enemy. Appeared in Mega Man 1 from 1987 on the NES. This is the big, like, he doesn't really look like Gossamer from the Looney Tunes cartoons.
He doesn't not, though. He looks more like if Gossamer were made out of clay and was yellow.
Right, so not really anything like Gossamer.
And had one eye, and no mouth, wasn't wearing shoes.
I guess maybe more like in like Monsters, Inc. when they're wearing those clean suits.
Yeah, the hazmat suit guys.
Yeah, the hazmat
I think
suits.
they have 6 forearms, do they not?
Well, I think it depends on what monster is inside.
What a great point.
But anyways, the Yellow Devil really just looks like itself. But for whatever reason in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like a giant yellow devil. No, I mean, it's like a giant yellow, like the Cyclops almost looking thing that breaks into chunks and like flies across the screen and to reorganize itself. But those chunks as they're flying are like projectiles that can harm you.
And when it's like sitting on the other side, it will, or, you know, when it's like fully constituted, it will just kind of like shoot pellets at you that you have to avoid. They bring back the Yellow Devil in a bunch of the Mega Man games.
And shows up in Smash Brothers.
Yep.
But yeah, like I feel like an iconic Mega Man boss, the Yellow Devil.
Yeah, well, and especially rare because, I mean, first of all, Mega Man is famous for serving up a new batch of bosses in each game, but that he is a like Dr. Wily Castle, you know, mini boss that shows up again and again. There's just something so Mega Man-y about the Yellow Devil because you have to memorize basically the order in which these things are flying across the screen at you so that you can, you know, remember when to jump and when to slide. And like those arenas are not very big, so you don't have a lot of time to make those decisions on the fly. Yeah, he's tough. It's a tough enemy.
I feel like this would be a fun one to have an amiibo of. I'm sure there's other statuettes out there, but it'd be fun to have an amiibo. Anyways.
Yeah, I agree.
So that brings me to Z.
Brings Mark to Z.
And my Z is for Zack and Wiki, Quest for Barbosa's Barbaros treasure.
Not Barbosa.
Not Barbosa.
Okay.
Zack and Wiki, Quest for Barbaros' treasure. It's BARBAROS apostrophe. So it's trips off the tongue, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a 2007 Wii exclusive. And I know that it was available for some time on the Wii U eShop. But other than that, I don't think that this has ever been ported anywhere. I think that this is kind of like is in the same drawer as Dino Crisis. Like, this is not a game that they have
Yonoid
that they have continued
and Professional Baseball Murder.
Exactly. They have not continued to represent, even though it could work on Switch, because this is like a point and click adventure game that uses the Wiimote for more than just like pointing and clicking, though. It also uses gestures to solve puzzles or to engage with the world. So if there's like a key, you may have to twist the Wiimote to like use the key to unlock stuff. The premise is that there's a little kid named Zack who wants to be the world's best pirate. And so him and his monkey companion, who is Wiki, are trying to get a treasure in each level. And so you're going through the level, making your way through, solving puzzles as you do, eventually going to get that final treasure. The game reviewed well, but was not a financial success for Capcom at all. There's actually an interesting comment from one of the marketing people from Capcom USA at the time. This was like a contemporary interview, partly blaming it on the main character design and basically saying like I think the fact that it was a little kid who's not wearing a shirt was like a turnoff to some people, but that's really
That sounds like
disingenuous.
projection.
It's also disingenuous because I mean it hasn't stopped One Piece from being incredibly successful, and it's not that this kid was completely shirtless. He's wearing like a vest.
He's wearing a
thing.
vest, an orange vest.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also like, yeah, I guess you can tell that it's a kid, but it's like, it's just like it's a little video game avatar.
Yeah, it just looks like a chibi like video game character. It could be 46. You know what I mean? It doesn't really make. It's not clear in the art, but I just thought that was an interesting.
That is interesting.
Feels like for whatever reason, felt very a snapshot of the early 2000s to me to have like a Capcom representative saying something like that in regard to why it didn't perform well.
Just like grasping at straws, just trying to figure out anything. What's interesting about Zack and Wiki to me is that like it doesn't not look like Wind Waker, right? Like it shares a lot of that like the colorfulness and the sort of like, it's not exactly cell shaded, but like they are really working with those models to make them look like cartoony and bright, and like the setting is kind of similar, right? Because he's not a pirate, but he sort of like acts like one.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a big skull on his red hat. Yeah, I mean, I think the art in this game looks pretty good. It is weird that they never brought it anywhere else.
Yeah. I bought Dead Rising Chop Till You Drop, and when I got to Z, I was like, oh, maybe I should buy Zack and Wiki, and try that one out as well.
Well, that's an excellent Z. I did not think of that. My Z was going to be Zelda. Capcom made 3 of them, but I feel like we've talked about that a fair amount. And we may have also talked about this a fair amount too, but let's just talk about zombies.
Oh, yeah.
Because Capcom, Resident Evil was sort of playing in the water of zombie fiction at a time when it was not like the mainstream cultural behemoth that it would become, via The Walking Dead or 28 Days Later. They're like, not that zombies didn't exist in movies, like they did, but like Resident Evil was very I think instrumental in like bringing back zombies as a force within popular culture, and that they do that through this game series, which then also spins off into a movie series that is like bringing zombies that way, and then they have a totally different approach in Dead Rising, a separate zombie series that is like Chop Till You Drop, maybe made in the Resident Evil 4 engine, but like what a bizarre pairing that is, and I can't wait for us to play that together. It's just like they found 2 different ways in on zombies,
and they are totally different because Resident Evil is like zombie fiction, but definitely like not Chop Till You Drop, Dead Rising, especially that first Dead Rising game is so Day of the Dead.
Yes.
Is such a reflection.
Or is that Dawn of the Dead?
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead is the mall one, yeah.
Yeah. Is such a reflection, like a direct, reflection of zombie cinema.
Yes.
In a way that Resident Evil is not really playing with that same sort of like, I guess maybe if anything else, it's Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, totally.
More than anything else.
Well, and it's just so interesting that there is an element of camp to the Resident Evil games, especially the first ones. But it's always hard to know like how much of that is intentional and how much of that is just like the limitations of like the genre or the medium at the time. But like Dead Rising is knowingly funny, right? Like it is putting this character in funny situations that also just happen to be surrounded by zombies, right? And the explanation for why there are zombies in that game is like there are hornets that are like in people's heads, and it's like transmitted via eating meat. It's just, it's so much sillier with its social commentary and with its like scenarios. I mentioned this at any time we get a chance to talk about Dead Rising, but there is an achievement in it that is a zombie genocider, and it's you kill the number of zombies that are on the like population sign during the game's introduction. So like it's just silly stuff,
Yeah.
Like they're being weird with it. Which is just, again, just amazing that they have two different ways into what a zombie game can be, and they're both right. Would we have zombies now without Resident Evil? Would we? Would we have zombies now without them? Don't know. Okay, that is going to conclude our ABCs of Capcom. Let's close this out. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Mark, as we have gone through this whole thing, looking at Capcom games from the past and from now, any big takeaways from what we've seen or what we've sort of re-explored here at this time?
I guess two things spring to mind. One is when you were talking about the variety of things that they do, different genres, different game types. I think that's totally true, and especially looking back at their history, how varied it's been. But also, I think it just reinforces what I was feeling before, that it may be my favorite third-party developer.
Yeah, they make a lot of good games. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much to our 16-bit patrons, Connor McCabe, Kyle Seaborn, Drew Mackey, and Anthony Lowbridge Ellis. You should join our Discord. If you're not there already, email us. We'll send you an invitation. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.